All-time high for Bitcoin. Incoming? Potentially, yes. Probability is looking good. We need to talk about it. We're going to do a lot of technical analysis. We're going to look at some data, my opinion on a lot of things, and I want you to interact with the pinned comment. Let me know what you think. Will we see an all-time high before the election? Not to mention, if you're new, subscribe and like this video. I'm going to go a little bit deeper in terms of the psychological factors, and I think it's important to know. I get asked the question a lot. What about retail? When are they coming? I'm going to explain. I've explained it before, but I think we're starting to see signs of it now. So here we are. We are currently 12.36% up. And obviously, yes, September was bullish. October's doing well. And I'm very, very happy with this performance. We are almost at all-time high. And there's so many things to kind of unravel here in terms of the analysis, which I will get onto. The fundamentals of this is, yes, we're looking at past performance to hopefully give us some future indication. And I'm hoping that November is going to be much stronger, realistically, than October, as we've seen before in 2020, right? If that is going to be a reflection of like a prior bull market, that would be great. We do need to talk about where we are from cycle lows. We've got liquidity cycles to look at, and we've also got the most obvious element, Bitcoin dominance. We're almost at 60%, which is going to become a huge factor of why this little bit of information is probably going to be key. All-time high, incoming soon, maybe retail FOMO, potentially, yes, hopefully. Donkey! So I've talked about this before. This is the cycle kind of situation in terms of where we are in terms of date, and we are currently trickling up, and this is the Bitcoin low. Obviously, diminishing returns will become a factor here. However, the trend is your friend. In terms of trend is your friend, the Bitcoin ETF is flying. Absolutely, like this period of time, looking great. Now, September wasn't great at all. It didn't do anything. As I said it before, it's like BlackRock forgot their password. So far, right now, very, very good. But let's talk about Bitcoin dominance. Huge shout out to Ben Cohen, who has, talked about Bitcoin dominance around 60%. I wasn't in line with this up until April last year, essentially, and I kind of went, nah, this is all bollocks. We're going to go much higher. The reason being, Ethereum started to roll off a cliff, and we'll talk about Ethereum later on. However, this is where it gets interesting. Are we going to see that altcoin capitulation and it gets painful and we go much higher? But again, we will come on to dominance in a second, so don't fuck off, basically. And this is where we need to talk about what is happening. So what's interesting, right? And this is a really, really, really good comparison, right, from Miles. Yeah, we have to look at Coinbase app ranking stores, and we've also got to look at the likes of BNB price and other exchange prices. Why is that important? You may be wondering. Well, it's for obvious reasons. It's where the retail come in, right? It's the gateway. And Coinbase rank in March was 20 and Bitcoin was at 71k, but you got to remember the context here. The context is simple. We went from roughly $40,000 to $71,000 very, very quickly. From October to March time, we had that mini kind of hello, and a lot of people saw views for me, I saw my views increase on my YouTube. I saw more and more engagement. I saw more and more members coming to my Patreon. Feel free to check it out. I do more videos. I will be doing a more up-to-date, I won't say up-to-date, but more technical version of this video on my Patreon today. Now, when we talk about the obvious, we are currently now at $71,000 and we're at 482. Retail will be very, very soon getting hello. We have a notification on your phone that is telling you that, well, bloody hell, Bitcoin's back to its all-time highs, and it brings people back, and it's scary how it does it. So yeah, that's psychology right there. Well, going on to more psychology, feel free to check out Bitcoin Magazine Pro. A lot of these charts are free as well, so they're really, really good. Profitable days of Bitcoin, 99.7%. If you've been holding any from the past, there's only a couple of days where you've got burned. And I don't think anyone's been burned by buying Bitcoin high, because I know that a lot of my viewers, hello viewers, you don't actually hold Bitcoin because you don't believe in the fact that you're going to make money. But let's just reverse that sentence. 99.7% of the days are profitable. So why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you buying Bitcoin? It doesn't make any sense. But you'd buy an altcoin that actually bleeds in Bitcoin. Doesn't make sense. Just buy Bitcoin. Like, that's just the rule. So yeah, that's an obvious one. And to back this up, the short-term holder realized price is starting to trickle up. And we are currently at, yeah, you'd be up right now. So much monies. So yeah, it's all in your head. Buy Bitcoin. And just to prove it, if you were buying this how many 5 weeks ago or whatever, and you were buying whatever amount, right? And even if that's, dollar cost average every single week, $50, look at how much you would have made versus everything else. Even if you started 5 weeks ago, if you were like putting $500 in per month, and you even started like 3 years ago, like you've still beaten the market. You've still beaten everything else. And everyone's looking at altcoins, but realistically, like I beg to differ, like you would have made much money on any altcoin over the last 3 years. There's a couple out there, but very rare. Anyways, so go 5 years. You can see the point. I'm not going to go too deep on that one. Anyways, the final bit I need to talk about, again, talking about Bitcoin, is the fact that there could be a huge super cycle for Bitcoin. And I know you're probably thinking, what? I've often talked about the ICO boom that really went crazy in the Ethereum ecosystem back in 2017. When I got into the crypto space in 2016, I was buying Bitcoin. Then obviously the ICO boom went crazy, right? And one of my video ideas, which was mentioned on Patreon, which is fantastic, was to do a video based on every single year that I've been in crypto to kind of go over the emotions of how it kind of came about and what went wrong and what went right. And I might well do that. A lot of people do ask that on Patreon. For the first time ever, Bitcoin will have elements to play with. As in, you got runes, talked about a lot, you got ordinals, and you've also got now stacks, which has created the Nakamoto whole situation around their layer 2, where there's finality on the Bitcoin blockchain, and it's about 8 to 10 seconds for it to do its magic. Yeah, I know. So, where I've talked about this before, you've obviously got Solana, you've got Ethereum, you've got other blockchains that do a lot of the weight for us in terms of the ecosystem, for the meme coins, for the utility tokens, the technology, right? But you've never had it on Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's starting to get to a point where people can communicate with Bitcoin with other blockchains. And more importantly, you can then use Bitcoin to have tokens and scale it elsewhere and be as fast and efficient as other blockchains, right? Obviously, you got Phantom Wallet, which has Bitcoin on it as well for Solana. It's very interesting to know that we've never had that. And this cycle we will. And again, go into that situation with stacks. There you go. That is fast. When you consider what the Bitcoin blockchain is all about in terms of the slowness is the security side of it, you can do it on Bitcoin a lot faster. Obviously, the Lightning Network is another great kettle of fish here. But yeah, what if a lot of developers then rotate into Bitcoin to develop because it's got the blockchain security and the finality, and it's as fast as Solana or Ethereum? Okay. So let's get into the technical analysis. If you are completely bamboozled by what I'm going to say about dominance or technical analysis, check out the links below to learning crypto. That will help you massively with education. Now, first thing we need to talk about is Dogecoin. I know Dogecoin is a little bit of a catalyst trigger for retail. It moves quite quickly at certain points, and it does gauge the market very well, as you can see by this big move. Prior to like that whole, it was one of the best performing assets in terms of the BTC pair versus, well, if you look at the relationship between how high it was in market cap back in the day. People are interested in Dogecoin when the market turns green. And we have had a change of character completely, and it's absolutely hurtling towards this level up here and maybe even higher, which is a big tick in the box. Tick in the box. When we talk about the obvious here, yeah, it's a meme coin. It's well represented, but it's not really a long-term investment in my eyes because of the inflation side of it. However, it's a really great narrative token to look at what's happening if you want to jump in and jump out. For me, this is probably going to go much, 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 much higher in the bull market. Whether it's going to change your life, probably very unlikely. It would have done 3 years ago for obvious reasons, as you know. But there's other ones out there that will probably do well, and I will talk about more meme coins at some point in terms of what you can and can't do on them. But let's talk about Bitcoin first, because Bitcoin is about to break, I think. And we're at the point now, right? Let's be honest. Yes, it's almost in its all-time high. We are currently here. When we look at this 3-day time frame, we are absolutely hurtling towards this area. And again, I've talked about it before, this could be the top signal of, oh, we're going to correct. And yes, we've got the election next year, which is absolutely fair enough. However, when you look at the weekly time frame, right, if I just change it to the weekly, this, at the minute, we are currently level peggings with a potential the highest close it's ever done. Where we are right now, pretty much. And we've still got 5 days and 13 hours to go. So it's looking very, very promising. Not to mention we've kind of like ignored this hidden bearish diversion, broken it out and invalidated it. So yeah, things are looking pretty damn good. And when we look at this kind of like, well, it's an obvious bull flag. It's an obvious flag, isn't it? Like, let's be honest. But I don't really go with flags. However, in terms of breaker structure, hello. It's happening. It's happening, and it's happened pretty much. So be mindful. Again, we talk about obviously the past, and when we talk about how like Bitcoin hurtled towards these highs from like certain points on Coinbase ranking got to stupid levels, that was why. We've cooled off massively. What if we do fly? And I've talked about this before in recent videos, and you all know it. A clear break of all-time high will bring the algorithms of any application to go ping. It will, right? Because you will start seeing exchange, installs on your phone, ping up going, oh, Bitcoin's going to all-time high. Then that will get into your mind thinking, all right, cool. You will then start hopefully seeing more and more content on your Instagram feed, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. And if you watch that for a certain amount of time, you're going to start getting recommended more and more of this content. Therefore, you're going to start growing. And that happened with my own channel, right? I've talked about it before. You will start to see more and more people get interested in cryptocurrency. They will look at Bitcoin and go, I'm not buying that. It's far too expensive. Even though I've just proven to you that if you buy it, you actually probably will make money. They will want to buy something else. And even like Solana, which I do now hold because I've made some money on some meme coins. If you look at the past, if you bought Solana 3 years ago, you'd be down massively in Bitcoin. You'd be up just in USD, but it depends on when you buy, and that's the key moment here. When you buy is where you make money, and if you are a brand new investor looking right today, you might not make loads of money on Bitcoin versus what you would have made in 2023, but some of the altcoins you might if you time it right. However, timing is key. Bitcoin dominance we'll come on to in a bit might go much higher, might go to 65-70% levels maybe, but it also might turn around right now and just go absolutely hurtling. It depends what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin goes up to those $80,000 levels, I think that'll be it. I think retail will come in and everything will just go a little bit bananas for a bit. It happens. It's just, I don't know what it is. And people often say, but people have no money. And I understand that. And it makes sense. But in the last cycle, during COVID and stuff, and like post-COVID, people on furlough and whatever, like people weren't working, but they were bored at home. They still had no money to play with, but they were still like cramming all their information and knowledge and doing courses and trying to learn how to use Pancakes or to buy SafeMoon or something. It made no sense, but it's psychology, innit? People want to make money. It's mad. But anyways, let's talk about Ethereum. And it's not been very good. Could be the most hated rally ever because everyone's written it off and it might just go. But I think Solana's much better at the minute in terms of like overall use case. It's got more and more catchy kind of elements to it. It's faster, it's more efficient, it's better at the minute. It might change, and that goes to show with the price, and the price is not looking good. And you can pinpoint a couple of things with Ethereum. Was it the ETF? Was it when they started paying yield, or was it when they reduced the fees on their blockchain? Which one was it? Like all three of them could be catalysts for why this price has just dropped and died. I don't know. But for me, for fundamental reasons, you got to look at the Ethereum dominance. It's done that. And this is the main reason why dominance for Bitcoin has been so strong. The reason why I was saying like to people, I don't think it will ever go to 60%. I think the altcoins are too strong. I think Ethereum, if Ethereum was holding 20%, 22% back when I was saying that, it would have been fine, but it hasn't. It's dropped nearly 10%. So if you look at that in terms of the relationship with the market, if Ethereum held strong, Bitcoin would have struggled to get to where it is today. But people have just went, Ethereum's a bit shit, isn't it? And that's what's happened. It's a bit of a shame, really. And even when we're looking at like sort of Ethereum BTC, obviously it's similar sort of chat, but it really has fallen off. It's really gone down, like massively. It's down to like 2020 levels. It's absolute mental. And I would never have thought that. But here I am. Levels are always levels and they will always be respected, as I say. Sometimes I forget that advice of my own, but it's just the way it is, right? And the fundamentals of the market is, well, people want other things. And right now, Solana is currently winning that race. And as I alluded to it, if you bought in 2021 or even in 2021, it's down in BTC. So obviously if you bought the top, yeah, you might be up a little bit in USD depending on where you bought, but ultimately some of these levels, like we're down here, it may well go much higher. It might not though. It's going to be very, very interesting. But let's talk about dominance, right? Dominance is going to be very, very key to see what's going to happen. Now, I've got a big box here saying consider your altcoin positions. What that means is if you've got some Bitcoin laying around and you find something that you really like and you see their BTC pair at levels of support really low, it might be a good time to rotate, but I would wait. Because what we tend to see is big, massive squares to the upside before we get that kind of capitulation period. And we've had it a number of times in the past where we might well find in that relationship between Bitcoin breaking through its all-time high, which I've talked about, getting a lot of people to get in, and then all of a sudden it will rotate. But it might not because of what I said also before. In terms of, well, Bitcoin can do similar sort of things now. Bitcoin can be more efficient. We may well see a lot of like economic booms on other ecosystems, but not on the overall market itself. We've had that before with Solana. If you're in meme coin Solanas, Solana meme coins, you would have noticed that. Same with Ordinals not too long ago. People were making loads of money off that. Runes as well recently, like people are making loads of money off that. But not the overall market seeing that reflection, right? So it might go much higher. What about if we, if we put that on there? What about 66%? What about it? Now, for me, that is also possible. But you've got to do your research. You've got to look. And I'm still an advocate that, you know, some altcoins with utility and certain things, or even meme coins, will grow Bitcoin. Now, that is my stance. My stance is use and leverage the BTC pairs to make more Bitcoin. If you do not know what I'm talking about, you're probably in the wrong market or the wrong channel. But the reality is here, people forget. When we talk about others.d, this is not looking good. This is probably going to go down to these lows. Maybe even, I wouldn't say that low, but maybe lower. But for me, if I'm going to pinpoint a level, I would probably pinpoint this, right? As this region here, we may lose a couple more percent. Now, the others is obviously a couple of altcoins dominance. It's not looking great, and that's roughly, I can't remember if it's a top 10 or top 20, but either way, it's a decent chunk. Same with the total 3/BTC. I was talking not too long ago about a potential alt season. If we break this level, we've failed, we've rejected, we've totally died off it. And that's just given us a hallmark of, well, this is where we are right now. We are waiting for that turnaround. So right now, we're looking at certain levels where this is levels of resistance now, and we are looking all the way down here somewhere. Maybe even lower, actually. How low do we go? Maybe there. Maybe there. Maybe there. 2020 levels, right? Is that possible? Of course it is. Will that hurt? Yes, it will hurt. Because Bitcoin is more dominant versus those altcoins, and they're going to finally find a bottom at some point, and then they will bounce, and then they'll change the character, and they'll trend up. But it depends on how high will they trend up. Will they ever trend up to this level up here? Probably not, but we'll see. Obviously, as I said before, there's a much bigger base case now for Bitcoin to be a lot more powerful if they're going to get tokens on it, if that value share is going to go up. And when we talk about why is this important, well, this is the top 3 meme coins essentially by market share, and then maths. It doesn't even have to be a meme coin. It could be utility token. It could be whatever. There's not much on Bitcoin yet, but there probably will be at some point, right? So that's hugely important to note. So we may well find a lot more power in Bitcoin, and we may not actually, my personal opinion, see this ever go lower than this for like God knows when. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, it'll probably drop. Don't know when. We'll see. But it may not hurtle towards those floors, which I think's going to probably annoy people. But the reality is, though, when we're looking at these total 3s and total slew/BTC, they are still in horrible downtrends. Like, that is reflected overall in these prices. Some of them are doing all right, some of them are not. It just depends on what you're picking. The reality is, though, you'd be better off buying Bitcoin if you're looking for certain things. And, the reflection overall, like you see here, a lot of these are Bitcoin miners. These are doing very well at the minute. They're eating well because more and more people are using the on-chain stuff with Bitcoin. The volume's going through the roof. They're making more money. The volume is increasing and interest in Bitcoin's going up. That's good to see. And you can obviously make money there as well. There's so much happening. But in terms of altcoins, there's not a lot happening. Realistically, there isn't. At the minute, there isn't. And I fully understand why people are frustrated. What's scary is Bitcoin is doing this run as the dollar is flying and hurtling to the upside. So regardless of what people think, if this does turn and we start going down, we may well see Bitcoin really break and really go crazy. The Russell is maybe getting towards this like yearly high level, which could be very interesting. And if we break this all-time high, which was the market top, that's it. It's send it, literally send it. So there's a lot of things to look out for here. And again, I've talked about it before, it's all wishy-washy data based off the past. But most altcoins over the last, 9 months have really struggled against Bitcoin. And even when we look at like the blockchain center, it doesn't say alt season yet. As you can see, we're at 29. It's actually quite low. We were looking pretty hopeful not too long ago, as I said, when we were getting potential maybe breakouts. But overall, some of the performances over here on some of these, like in my opinion, some of these are really decent top assets, like that have earned their right to be where they are really struggling. Cass is struggling. Pol's struggling. Like Ton. Political elements around that. Obviously, Polkadot's doing really bad. Ethereum, as you can see, minus 9%, 19%, and that's the biggest weight. So stuff like that is huge. And I still think right now it is time to consider your altcoin positions. Do your research, find what's doing well or has pumped in the past, and try and find some really, really nice levels. The thing is, and the final closing thought of this video is people look at the USD prices and think your altcoin is doing well. 9 times out of 10, they're not. It's just because Bitcoin is doing well. Like, yeah, you can see the obvious outliers. Obviously, Siri, for example, obviously Stacks with its update. Injected, for example, is 4%, or Bitcoin Cash currently 4% versus obviously Bitcoin at 1.82. If your asset like Polkadot is below that number, it's not doing well. And Polkadot is the biggest obvious one that doesn't do as well at the minute. Cardano is another one. Even though Cardano, it just got back into bed with Bitcoin, it's not doing very well. It's crazy. Anyways, enjoy.